Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. All right, everyone, welcome to episode 9 of the Mali Mission podcast. Once again, with your host Farhan Rana. Back at you this week again. So, I kept my promise of doing more than one episode starting this week. So, I'll do one obviously today and then one on Friday. So, keep a lookout for those. I think it's a good momentum for me to just like have more episodes going out and to be sharing some ideas and thoughts with you guys. So just before we get started, do want to mention my free workout plan. So if you want to check that out, it's at farhanrana.com/workout. It's a free 7-day workout plan with everything you need to know about getting in shape. It's like a quick PDF. You can just go through it, and it should give you all the essential information you need. All right, so with the topic we have for today, I believe it's called Choosing Your Friends Wisely. And the first point I want to make on this is that the first thing you need to do, and the most important step that you need to take when it comes to choosing your friends properly, is being firm and having your own principles by which you stand. Now, I know this might sound strange. It's like, well, shouldn't my friends just be based on whether we have similar interests or like mutual activities or that kind of thing? I mean, that will influence what you do, but the very first step, if you want to be really conscious about who you choose as your friend, is having a set of principles or morals or values that you abide by and that you don't change for anybody. Um, and let's be real. No one can force you to do anything that you don't want to do. And as it might sound harsh to say this, but like you actually let people influence you. Maybe it's like there's what tends to happen is that you have such a low barrier to what others are telling you or what's going on, that you just let most things slide by. That's if you don't have a set number of principles that you live by and that you don't change for anybody. And allowing yourselves to be influenced and kind of go with the flow is really just a habit that you develop over time. It's a mindset that you unconsciously develop and that you kind of carry it over into your life. And this usually starts when you're like really young or even in your teenage years. You just go with that, and then if you're not being conscious about this, obviously that's the sort of disclaimer I want to give, at the very beginning. If you're not conscious about this, you just go with the flow, and that's what you end up doing. The same thing as your friends. So it's definitely not. It's hard, but it's not impossible to stand your ground and have the principles that you abide by no matter what. So in my example, because I think a lot of Muslims are going to be watching this just because of who I am and my background. One of the things that I struggled with for a long time was praying in public. So if the prayer time came and I was out and about, maybe I was like, I had just parked somewhere or just I was on the train, I just gotten off. It was a choice I had to make. Do I pray here? Do I delay it until I get home and then potentially miss the window of prayer? Like, what do I do in this situation? And I'm gonna be like really honest with you guys. It was really hard to like get over the fear of praying in public. Now you might be like, well, how is this related to friends? It's like keep up with me. Like the fear of like praying in public, it kept me, it like it was just like sometimes it happened, sometimes it didn't. So over time, and this is where my friends came in. Over time, when I would be not just by myself but with a group of friends, and prayer time came and we were out maybe hanging out or whatever. If even like one or two of us was like, hey, we should pray right now, that motivated the rest of the group to be like, okay, let's pray. It doesn't matter what's going on. We'll just like find like a somewhat like private spot. We'll go there, pray, and then we'll carry on doing whatever we have to do. That environment, that kind of influence, really, it made all the difference to me. So from that point onward, um, whenever I'm in a public space, whenever I need to pray, I just don't even think about it too much because I'm like, yeah, if we prayed as friends and no one came and said anything or like did anything, I mean, no one's gonna say anything. Like if you're in a private spot, no one who actually sees you, they might think you're stretching or something. So when it came to like praying at airports, this happened really really recently when I went to Umrah. Um, I had to pray at the airport, and it was just like, yeah, let me do it. And I was with my family, like they were like hesitant, but they're like, do you really want to do this now? You could pray in the plane. It was just like all this kind of stuff. I told them like no one's gonna say anything, nothing's gonna happen. Let me just do it, get it over with. And that was actually the perfect time because after that point, I didn't really have too much time. It was just like a lot of moving around, how how it goes with traveling. So my point with all of this is to say that, you know, to be to have a good group of friends, choosing your friends in a wise manner, it really comes down to those principles. And then once you develop or you've established your principles, it's really those group of friends, they tend to congregate around you because they have those similar values. um, and you support each other. And even when you're not with each other, you still carry that same kind of momentum and energy of like, yeah, if I was with my friends, like this wouldn't be a problem. If I have to do it, I'll do it. Or in a reverse kind of situation, if your friends are like doing something they shouldn't be doing, you're like, okay, I'm in this kind of situation. I'm not going to do it because that's just my value. I don't care what anyone else is doing. So that's the first point. You really need to have your own set of values to start off with. And to really find good friends, this is kind of going off of what I just said, is that you need to be the kind of person that you need to imagine yourself. Like, would you ask yourself this question? Would you want to be friends with yourself? Not in terms of like, oh, like, Farhan does like fun activities and he's like a really great guy to be around. He has great personality. It's always a fun time with him. I'm not talking about that. It's really just about assessing, like, are you the kind of person that you could find value in? Like someone you could go to and be like, yeah, this guy's he has a solid, he has his life, like even if it's not like perfectly laid out, and he had, there's, you just feel this kind of momentum and this kind of energy of like, yeah, he's so sure of where he's going and what he's doing. Like I want to be around him because he has this like contagious energy of like, yeah, he's on a mission. I mean, that's going off of the manly mission. He's on his manly mission. Um, Even though like we might differ in the details, I need to catch on to what he's doing and feed off of his energy. That leads to my second point. You need to keep in mind that just stating the very obvious, good and productive people do good and productive things. It's really that simple. So, for example, if you want to be someone who's like really excelling at school, what will you do? You'll be very serious about your homework. You'll go to the library. You'll stay after class. You'll do all these things, right? What will you find? Like, what kind of people will you find who are also serious about studying? Like, they'll be doing the same thing. They'll be serious about their homework. They'll be in the library. You get the point. Like, you'll be the environment that you find yourself in is a byproduct of what you prioritize in your life. It's really that simple. To give another example, if you're serious about fitness, if you're really serious about getting in shape and being healthy and being that kind of person who's like fit, like what will you do? You'll go to the gym, you'll start eating healthy, you won't go to fast food spots or stay up late because you want to play video games or whatever. You'll get your 8 to 9 hours of sleep. In the example of the gym, when you go there, you'll find people who have more or less similar values and similar priorities in their life. So all of this to say, or to really convey to you guys, is that you need to be, wondering or like really asking yourself, like, where are like-minded people going to be? And if you haven't found a good answer to this, it's really, I think you need to take a deeper look at yourself and ask, like, am I even doing like productive things with my life? Like, do I find myself after school or after work, am I just like sitting at home, watching Netflix, maybe playing some video games or just like being on my phone? And then I'm wondering, like, why am I not inspired? Why am I not around people who like motivate me to do better, or like, really, even if they don't purposely motivate me, they're just not like a good environment around me. So I find myself doing bad habits, which I shouldn't be doing, which I wouldn't do if like people were around me. If you're asking these kind of questions, you need to take a good look at yourself and be like, am I even around these people? And you don't need to, I'll say this, you don't need to even purposely try to make friends with these people. Like, just being around them, just catching on to that environment, that energy, that's going to improve your own life first and foremost. Then, depending on how social you are, how like extroverted and all that kind of stuff, depending on your own personality, you'll naturally start to build a relationship. You'll maybe talk to that guy who squats right next to you, or you'll ask that group of friends or that group of people who are studying at the library. Maybe you're stuck with a homework problem and you go to them and be like, hey, how do I do this? So you'll naturally find yourself first of all catching on to their energy and then gravitating to those people like physically. And that's how like this natural kind of um, community or group of friends evolves when you're being really purposeful about this, obviously. um, Obviously you could just go to a group of people who are having fun, and be like, yeah, I just want to join you guys, and more often than not they'll be like, yeah, come through. So really being purposeful about this is key. And the last thing I want you guys to um, really be mindful of is that really need to nurture good friendships and actually be a good friend, um, back to another friend. And you can't expect people to support you, to be there for you, to motivate you, if you aren't doing that for them as well. I mean, you really can't be selfish when it comes to friends. I know you might have selfish friends, or you might know that I'm a selfish friend to other people. So you really want to work on that. And you might want to be selfish. Like, this is gonna sound really strange. You might want to be selfish and be like, I want to take advantage of this friend, or like really waste their time, or just like make them do things for me, even though I don't want to do anything for them back, because you've been kind of lonely for so long and you haven't had anyone. I, when you're in this kind of dark space, it can go one of two ways. One, you're like, I don't want anyone else to experience this, so I'm going to be the best kind of friend to someone else. Or it could be like, why hasn't anyone been my friend? Why have I been so alone for so long? Like, what's obviously it's not me. Like, I'm a great person. You're thinking like yourself about yourself in a deluded way. So you're like, it's other people's fault. It's other people. They're wrong. I want to. If I do get around some people, I want to make them feel what I felt. I want to make them feel used and all this kind of stuff. So it's really just about being mindful about that, and understanding that it's a two-way street. Like, much of what I'm stating right now is really obvious, but towards the end I'll kind of wrap it and tell you like how this is actually a framework. So just to kind of wrap up this point, so it's really about an understanding that the kind of friend that you want in your own life, you have to imagine what they would do for you. So beyond what I said about motivating and inspiring, all that kind of stuff, like, do they check up on you? Do they make it a point, if it's been like a couple of days, weeks, even a couple of months, do they reach out to you and be proactive about catching up, and maybe even seeing you if they live in the same town? Do they help you if you're having a tough time, with family or with work or whatever the case may be? And overall, just being someone dependable. Now, what I just said, if you imagine like, yeah, I would love to have someone like that in my life. Like, I'm either around people who don't support me, don't do anything like that for me, or I don't have anyone. So if what I said, gave you the sense of like, yeah, I really want that, then maybe the way to get that is to be that for someone else. A lot of time what happens to us guys is because we tend to have this lone wolf mentality of like, yeah, I'll just do it on my own. I don't need anyone. Everyone else is wrong. I'll just do my own path. I'll be like a self-made millionaire. I don't need anybody. That kind of thing. I mean, I won't say there's no merit to that. I mean, having this single-minded obsession with what you have to do will put you away from people and from socializing for a little bit. But having this as your life, your kind of world review, that's gonna really mess things up for you. Um, I was going somewhere with this. So it's just like, when you go. I totally lost my train of thought. Sorry, guys. What was I saying? So I was saying like lone wolf, and I was kind of saying, maybe it'll come back to me. But what I do want to tell you guys is that being someone dependable, being someone who cares about others, being someone who is is actually has some kind of stake in other people, that's the way that you actually develop friendships, and you actually have like a meaningful community around you. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. So oftentimes we think that people are like, they're so much better than us. They have their lives figured out. They know what they're doing. Like, they have the job, the career, the relationship. They have the car. They have all these things. Like, everyone else has it, whatever I want. So obviously they're doing something right, and they don't need my help. Why would they need my help? Like if they have everything figured out, no one has everything figured out. Like a lot of times, people will have like the trappings of a good life. They'll have all the material things I talked about, but maybe they're like deeply just like unsure of what they're doing, or they've had like a serious fracture in their family, like emotionally, and that's just causing them pain, and they don't even know how to go about their life. And unless you actually care about other people, and you think like, okay, I have something to offer to other people, and I can be of service to someone else. Like you'll just stay in your own little bubble of like self hate and self pity. Like you're being really selfish when you're not being a good friend to other people, because you're coming from a place of like of they have whatever they want and they're doing so perfect and well. I'm not, so I don't need to bother helping them. That's the wrong way to go about it, bro. Everyone has some kind of emotional need that it's either completely lacking, it's not there, or it just needs you with your own personality, your own kind of person and who you are to come in and really just make their life so much better. And you can be that kind of person. Like don't think just because you're like in high school, or like you're just like a 20-year-old something, that you don't have anything to offer to anyone. It's not at all like that. Yeah, if you just believe in yourself and you ask and you take stock of what you have in terms of, yeah, I'm a, just to give you some examples, if you know about yourself, yeah, I'm a very generous person. If someone needs, $20, I'll just give it to them, no questions asked. Or I'm just like really, like a really good listener. If someone needs to talk to me, like I'll just put everything aside and I'll just listen to them and help them through their problem. Like, if you know these things about yourself, like it would be a shame for you to then be in a place like a dark place yourself and be like, yeah, like no one needs my help. It's like it's hopeless for me. I just need to focus on myself. Like I said, focusing on yourself is a good thing. It's a good trait, but you don't want that to be your worldview. You don't want to be like, I'm just gonna focus on myself for the rest of my life. Like that's not how it works. Like how do you think a community, a tribe, like how do you think it's built? It's built off of people having like strengths and weaknesses, and they build off of each other. And though we don't have tribes, we still have connections with other people. Like that's always going to be there. um, you know Virtual reality and all this metaverse, like be that as it may, like there's still like human to human connection. It's always going to be there. So it's all about realizing that you have something to offer to someone else. Maybe not tangibly in terms of like money or um, information. It could just be like you're there for them. And that's what many people want. Many people just like wish that there was someone there for them, someone who was very similar to them, who understood what they were going through. So to wrap it all up, um, friendships and having this companionship, especially among guys, is like so important to really be proactive about and really seek out. Is it because I think what happens to a lot of guys who move out of college and get into working, or they get married and they kind of get involved with that kind of life, is that this having friendships, like really solid friendships where you're seeing each other on a frequent basis, it just falls off. And maybe these other priorities in life, they do need to take some time of yours. That's totally understandable. But to just put it off completely, like, yeah, like I found my purpose in my job, I just need to worry about that. That's gonna lead you down a path where like you'll get to a point like maybe 2, 5, 10 years later, and you're like, why don't I have anyone to connect with? Like I just go to work, I do my thing, and then I come home and I have my wife or like my family, and that's about it. Like I can't really relate to anyone. I don't have a brother to pick me up, and maybe it's not even you're doing perfectly fine, but you just want like a brotherly connection to someone else. So it's really important, going back to what I said, being involved in productive activities throughout your life. Throughout your life, no matter what you're doing, a gym is a great place. Maybe it's a martial arts club, or maybe you're really into public speaking, you go to those kind of events. So it's really important to be in that kind of environment, to find other people who are doing those things, and to really cultivate those friendships. And I'll say this: it sounds cheesy, obviously, but friends are the family that we choose. Obviously, if you're born with like a certain number of siblings, or like you have a certain number of like extended relatives, you can't do much about that. and they can be as they are. But being really conscious about who you choose as your friend, that's a choice that you make. And don't think that, oh, it's just because these people are in my high school or they're in my class, so I'm kind of stuck with them. You're not at all stuck with them if they're not aligned with what you're doing. Like, you need to understand that you have more choice in this. And I think what one of the things I want to convey as part of the Manly Mission podcast is that you have so much more power, so much more um, like sovereignty in your own life. You're not helpless. You're not someone who's too far gone, who has to just go with the flow. It's just like it's all over. It's nihilist, this nihilistic kind of view. It's not like that. Because if I thought like that, if I was just like, oh, like I don't need, whatever I say is not gonna help anyone. This podcast, whatever I'm doing, productive activities, like they wouldn't be there. I would just be in this like shell, and I would just be like, yeah, like whatever I do doesn't matter. I'm just gonna do the bare minimum, get through with my life, and that'll be the end of it. I won't leave behind a legacy. I won't help someone else. Like, you have no idea. Like, the simplest thing that you could do for someone could literally change their life. Something you say that you didn't even think about. Maybe you just like put a shoulder over their arm and you gave them that encouragement. Maybe that saved them from who knows what. From from it sounds kind of bad, but like taking a permanent solution, permanent solution to a temporary problem, if you know what I mean. That could be it. So never ever underestimate what you're doing. Be a good person, have those solid values, be productive, be out there in the world. Don't be just like stuck in your own bubble, and understand that it takes effort. Good friendships take effort. They take effort out of you, and you need to reciprocate that, and that's the only way you'll get ahead in life, and you'll actually have a meaningful life. um, yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say to you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Once again, I will be doing another podcast on Friday, so do look out for that, inshallah. But I do want to let you guys, ask you guys, if you have topic suggestions or questions or comments, do leave them below if you're watching this on YouTube, do leave them in the comment or in the comments, or if you're, listening to this on podcast, go to the YouTube channel, find this video and go in the comments and let me know what you guys want me to discuss and talk about. Because what I've been doing up until this point is just going off of like, is this something that could help guys? And I want to know from you guys what you actually want to know about. So do let me know. That's the only way this channel will grow, and I'll actually be able to provide useful content to you guys. So that's the only kind of announcement or thing I wanted to talk about at the very end. But once again, thank you so much, guys, for listening, for subscribing, for tuning in. I really do appreciate your support, and I've said this many times. I won't get tired of saying it. I'm really excited for where this channel, this movement could go, because it's not about me. It's the manly mission, and it's something that every man has their own mission, and we need to come together and really bond around the core values and principles of what it means to be a productive man and be on this mission in our lives. So once again, thank you so much, guys, for listening. This was episode 9 of the Manly Mission podcast with your host, Farhan Rana. And until next time, I'll hope you guys are doing well, and I'll catch you guys soon.